Hey guys, this is Jim, WT1W, and you're watching FEP Labs Radio. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. So today I want to share with you an app I got from the Apple App Store. This app is available for iOS as well as the Mac itself. This is the Mac version, and this is Ham Toolbox. So let's jump in and take a look at all the cool stuff that this app does. Okay, the first thing you'll notice here is that it has a ham clock-like screen. This has many of the same functions that Ham Clock does. A very cool feature about this app is that you can also put this on its own separate screen, which I've only got one monitor here that we're looking at. But I can pop this Ham Clock view out, for example, and move it to a second monitor so I can have Ham Clock running all the time. Very swank. You have a lot of tools in here that I want to go through, as well as resources. So we have, as you can see here, a ton of stuff. Here's a glossary of terms, a Morse code reference, wire gauge. This comes up and explains what all the wire gauges are in American wire gauge, AWG, and also in millimeters and a few other measurements as well, including how many amps of current that particular wire gauge is rated for, what the resistance is over a kilometer, and so on and so forth. So a lot of cool stuff there. If we go back to our resources, you can see we have Q codes, abbreviations, formulas, I think is a very useful thing. So here on the formula screen, you see we have, 20, 30 different formulas. I'm not going to go through all these, but you can see that there is a ton of them. Let me just randomly pick an RC series circuit, and there's the formula to calculate the impedance in an RC series circuit. Very cool. One we talked about in my last video, peak-to-peak voltage. I need to get my mouse on the right screen. There's how to calculate peak-to-peak voltage, power in an AC circuit, power in general, all the variations of a power formula. So pretty swank. We go back to our resources. We have DXCC numbers for all the different DXCC entities. The constants that we would deal with, a lot of these are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not really ham specific. I don't know that I need to know the mass of the Earth, but should I need to know it, there it is, as well as what the constant is for the mass of the Earth. Of course, the speed of light is one we might actually use. A few others in here, but it's neat to have it. It's a great reference. URL gives us web links to various sites that are amateur radio related. So ARRL, Club Log, Ham Call, Ham QTH, QRZ, EQSL, so on and so forth. Not just for United States organizations, but there's some here I see for Europe as well. So that's pretty neat. We also have the band plan. I like this one. First of all, very colorful. And this shows you the band plan for 40 meters, for example. And we could go through all this, but I'm not going to. It's an eye chart. I'm going to tell you it's an eye chart, but you can at least look at all this in one screen. It tells you up here what the modes are, the range for that specific band, and then what the band is. Of course, we can also sort this by the band. If we jump back, of course, Morse code, CTCSS codes, there they all are. So you can see there's a lot of really good reference material in the app itself. Calculations. So again, here are all the different calculators that are possible, and the calculators that are here list all the possibilities and rearranging of a specific formula to do those calculations. So this one will calculate current, wattage, ohms, as well as voltage based on how we want to work the calculator. And if we go back, we can see we have some other calculators for SWR, antenna building, right? Our antenna formula is there. Put in the values that we know, and we can calculate the ones we don't know. dB to dBm conversion. Some really neat conversions that we have here. We have, of course, a logbook, and this pulls from whatever source you've set up in the program itself. Mine's pointing to QRZ, so this is my logbook from QRZ. If we go to tools, you can see we have a whole bunch of other tools here, and I'm not going to go through all these because it'll take forever. We have a PSK reporter, DX cluster, reverse beacon network. The POTA one is pretty sweet because it will pull all the current POTA activators when I click start, I guess, and show us everybody and who's doing POTA where, what mode they're on, what band they're on, so on and so forth. And I can filter this. So I can turn on the filters and I can say, okay, I only want 20 meter and I want phone. So there are all my 20 meter phone POTA activators right now. And of course, it's probably pulling this data from POTA.app or DXCC. So this data is going to update on the fly, and you can see it's pondering because it's updating. So that is sweet. If you're a POTA hunter, this is an awesome tool here. We also have call lookups, either from QTH or QRZ. That's pretty straightforward. Resources about our different beacons and repeaters, frequency lists. So I can narrow this down by a specific state or country, and then county and city, and pull in all the repeaters in the area. Of course, this is probably sourced from Repeater Book and maybe RFinder's repeater database, maybe various other sources. So that's neat. Frequency list. This is telling us, I don't know what this is telling us. Oh, okay. So specific different modes of operation and what the mode is, FM narrow, so on and so forth, and what modes are used potentially on that frequency. So here's FRS, for example, PMR, I think that's a European one, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty swank. And if we jump back here, we have a DTMF generator, if you would need to have one of those or you're testing something. And then Ham Toolbox would like to access the microphone, so I'm going to assume that is a CW decoder, or I can type and it will put out CW. So you can see that this has a lot of really interesting resources as part of it. And if we go look at settings here, of course, there's data that this uses that it updates. We can update all that stuff. It will check automatically. This is done by Jan Roscosh, I assume related to Marcus Roscosh. Marcus is the one that wrote the Smart SDR software for Mac OS and also was a major player in Smart SDR for Windows for the Flex Radio. Marcus also wrote SDR Control, which I've done a video on several years ago, which is an app to let you drive your ICOM radios with a Smart SDR-like interface over the network or USB in the case of the 7300. So that's pretty nice. We can also, of course, save all our data to our iCloud drive. Again, this is a Mac-specific app or iOS-specific app. Here are Ham settings. So this is my settings, where I'm located, my call sign, transmit power, so on and so forth. Here's the databases that I'm signed into. I'm only using QRZ. So that's our basic settings. And if we come back up here, and if we go to File New here, we can open up this in another window. And we also can create a new ham clock window, again, on a separate monitor, for example, or resize it on this monitor. We can also create a new lookup window. So those windows are popped out from the main display. So I can have a separate ham clock, a lookup window, and I think that about covers the basics of this app. It is not an expensive app. It is not free. Let's pop over to the App Store real quick and take a look and see how much this bad boy costs. And here it is on the Mac App Store. I can't show the price because I already paid for this app, so it's not giving me the price. I want to say it was $9.99, $10. It was not an expensive app, and for what it does, I think it's very cool. One other feature that I have not set up on this app yet, because is you can come down here and connect radio. So we can add in radios. And if I tell it add, let's see, it'll let us select an ICOM. Yeah, these radios. So Yaesu, Kenwood, Elecraft, a HamLib connection or a Zygu connection. And then, of course, you'd have to have the appropriate radio hooked up in the appropriate way over the network or USB. It's kind of interesting that this doesn't work with the Flex, but he sells the Smart SDR as a separate app, and it would have, I know it has, all this functionality or most of it in that separate Smart SDR for Flex. So that's kind of not surprising. So if you have any of these radios, and we'll pick on ICOM, and we could come down here and say what model. So I could run this with any of these particular radios, for example, and then over the network or USB, as the case may be, whichever, and then any network specific information. And then this will let you, to some extent, control and manage the radio. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that available to set up at the moment, but you can see what it'll do. So overall, a pretty neat app, and I really like it. I think it's well worth $9.99, and I'd highly recommend it. Guys, that's all I've got for today. If you would, make sure and give me a thumbs up, share this with your friends, ring the bell so you're notified whenever I post any new videos, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it. We all need to hack the YouTube algorithm. Thanks, y'all. 73.